it's Sarah from TV8 Studying, and today I am here to talk about how much I actually work in a week. So I spent about a week documenting how long I studied, how long I worked, excluding class time, and I documented it all here so we can look at how much I actually study as a college student and just break down the numbers a little bit. I will preface this with a caveat, like I got stomach flu at the beginning of the week when I first started recording my times and everything like that, so my numbers may be a little skewed. However, to compensate that, I did add on an extra 2 days to my documentation to sort of make up for the 2 days I was like horribly sick in bed with a fever. So let's start off by breaking down the numbers. So I primarily use a timer both on my phone and my stopwatch here to keep track of the time, and I try to keep it as accurate as possible by pausing whenever I took a break, pausing whenever I went to the bathroom, and not recording any class time. So I try to keep that aspect as accurate as possible, but there might be a couple minutes like give or take. So that's what I did in terms of recording things. And now as for the actual time breakdown, here we go. On Sunday, I studied for 6 hours and 23 minutes. This to me seems a little bit on the high end because I was taking a practice exam that took like 4 hours, and then I had additional classwork on top of that. So Sunday is a little bit skewed in my opinion, and then we get into Monday, which is when I got stomach flu. Hello, I look like shit. Basically, I've been super sick for the past 2 days. I have like some kind of stomach flu. I tested negative for COVID. I can't keep anything down, so I haven't really been working that much. I've been keeping track on my little notepad here, but I didn't film anything because I was basically in bed trying my best to not throw up and keep on working, which is not recommended when you're sick, but I had deadlines, so there is that. I'm going to finish my cup of tea, submit some emails, and then I'm gonna go to sleep. And then maybe tomorrow we'll have like more of a legitimate hour tracking experience, and maybe I'll be able to eat something tomorrow. But for now, good night. So Monday I worked for 1 hour and 21 minutes, and Tuesday I worked for 1 hour and 3 minutes. I was pretty out of it. Most of the work that I did was reading books for class in bed because that was the only thing that I could like muster up in terms of energy. So not a lot of work, not very productive work. So there is that. On Wednesday, I bounced back a little bit and I worked for 3 hours and 16 minutes. Thursday, I felt more like, in terms of like my usual pace, more back on track than I did on Monday. So Thursday I worked for 4 hours and 43 minutes. Friday I worked for 5 hours and exactly 1 minute. It was actually kind of hilarious. So Friday I worked for 5 hours and 1 minute. Saturday is typically when I spend a lot of time hanging out with my friends. I take more of a break. Saturday is also a party day at my school. So Saturday I only worked 1 hour and 13 minutes. But then Sundays are typically the days of the weekend that I work the most. So on Sunday I worked 5 hours and 36 minutes. Monday is when I started keeping track again because I wanted to make this a full work week in terms of how much I study, and Monday and Tuesday were sick days. So I compensated by timing on Monday, which was 3 hours and 22 minutes, and Tuesday, which was 3 hours and 52 minutes. I thought it would be interesting to sort of show you guys these statistics graphically, so I'll put the graph up on the screen. As we've covered before, Sundays are my highest work days in terms of hours and sheer amount of minutes. And again, this is because Sundays primarily tend to be the days of the week where I work the most. It's the day where I have the least amount of other stuff to do. It's also the day where my procrastination tends to catch up with me and I have to do a lot of work so I can turn in everything that's due on Monday. And Saturdays tend to be my lowest days just because a lot of other extracurriculars that I'm involved in have events on Saturdays. I also like hanging out with my friends on Saturdays. I go to parties, I hang out, I chill. I sometimes go to Philadelphia, most often on Saturdays. So Saturdays just tend to be on the low end of things. So based on the quick math that I did this calculation by hand, so I could be a little wrong, but the average time I spent working this week was 4 hours and 28 minutes, and the median amount of time I spent working this week was 3 hours and 37 minutes. I think this is fairly in line in terms of like how much work I do on a daily basis, but more importantly, this made me sort of reevaluate the way I treat time and the way I view like time efficiency. More specifically, like I'm thinking about like people who post on social media about like their 10-hour work week or how they wake up at 5 a.m. and study for 15 hours in the day. And I think you kind of know like what kind of like TikToks and what kind of videos and like posts that I'm talking about, but it really made me like rethink the way I tend to view those posts. Usually when I see those kinds of posts, I think, oh my god, this person is studying for 10 hours a day. That is so impressive. They must be so productive. What am I doing with my own life? But if I look at this number, it's significantly less than 10 hours, but I still get a lot of work done in the day. I'm on top of all of my classes, I'm on top of all of my extracurriculars, and I'm studying for an exam at the same time. And I feel like I get enough work done and I still have time in the day to hang out with my friends, to eat my meals, to do all the other things that I do in a day, because I'm not just a student. I'm also a sister, a daughter, a friend. I also take care of myself, other things like that. So it made me reevaluate the way I treat my own time and the way I view other people's time. So it sort of re-emphasized this idea of it's not about the amount of time that I spend on something, but rather the efficiency of the time that I use to spend on things. So if I'm spending 10 hours on something, great. But the more important question to ask is, am I using those 10 hours efficiently? And most of the time, based on my time recording, it's probably not going to be very efficient. If I can do the same amount of work in 4 hours and 28 minutes compared to like 10 hours, of course I want to be more efficient and save my time and study for 4 hours. I don't really have like a very solid like closing statement to finish this piece off or whatever, but that's sort of like my inarticulate thought on efficiency versus quantity of time. Also, it was pretty interesting. Like I actually thought I spent a lot more time studying at the library than I did, but most of that time I spent talking with my friends or like going to the bathroom or like scrolling through TikTok. So that's another aspect of time recording that made me sort of like rethink like how much time I actually spend on things versus how much time I don't spend on other things. Anyways, I don't really have a set moral to the story. I just thought this was an interesting video idea and I thought it would sort of keep me accountable and give me a better sense of how I'm using my time. So I hope this was semi-interesting for you. Let me know how much you think you study versus like how much you actually study down in the comments, or what your opinions on this whole like think piece was, because yeah, I spent like a week and a half doing this just for shits and giggles. There's that. That's all I've got for you today. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications, and thank you to my patrons for making content creation possible. If you'd also like to support me and my videos and the other content I create, please go check out my Patreon, link down below in the description box. And yeah, that's all for me today. Thank you so much. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!